again, and welcome to part 12 of my crazy smart jigsaw. In this video we're going to be installing the clutch pedal and the shifter linkage. Welded up this bracket, mounts to the lower seat, and the seat slide track mounts my shifter. For the shift shaft I just used a piece of aluminum, get a little decorative end. Put a stud, screwed them together tight, and polished it. And then on the under end I'll have the shift boot. And then on the far end down there I tapped it M6 to screw right into the bike engine shifter. So on the car I drilled a hole in the firewall, and then I used one of these knockout punch and dies, 32 millimeter. And then just made the hole in the firewall. And then I have this boot here. It'll go inside and then line right up to the motorcycle shifter. So that'll be pretty slick. And here we are, still doing more wiring, but getting headway. I got this plug mounted up. This grommet will go through the firewall somewhere down in there. So then on the inside I've got it set up to where this group of wires goes to the Suzuki dash. These wires here, that goes to the clutch start, and this is my AB mode switch. And then all these over here are going to go to my relay panel, servo controller, and start button circuit, all up under the dash and the inside. So I still have this plug to wire up onto this, and then finish mounting the start solenoid. Probably redo the positive battery cable so it runs out of the way so I can get to my oil fill. Once this plug is on, it's going to tuck way down under there, come up behind here, and go to that grommet. Be all nice and clean next time you see it. Okay, I got the fuse panel under the hood. This kind of represents the bike's fuses for the fuel pump, the fan, and then another one tied to the fuel I think went to the injectors. So those are all here, powered off the original bike's power coming from this 30 amp fuse. Then I got the battery cables coming through grommets down to the car's battery. And then they have to run across the ground to the block, the red to the starter, but then the starter has to break up here at this starter solenoid. So this is out of the motorcycle start, and I made this bracket, drilled 2 holes. I'm gonna bolt that here, and this mounts into the rubber grommet. I'll just bolt right there, and the positive will connect there to there. The other thing I'm working on is an air filter. So I got this 12 by 8 oval air filter. It's for a 5 1/8 carburetor base. I got these things here I 3D printed, and I'm going to take this and cut this off and cut this out to match this cutout. So that'll end up bolting on there just like that. That'll look pretty cool. And I'm working on the throttle control. So this here is the original OEM bike mount. I cut off the spot where the throttle cables came in, made it look smooth. I welded on this piece, tapped a couple holes. So I've got this 20-gram servo, but the mount's going to bolt right in there. This is going to bolt right like that. And this is the throttle plate, and I'll figure out where I'm going to drill a hole in here once I get the electrics hooked up and find the travel of the servo. But this is a left-right turnbuckle to do some fine adjustments. Okay, so on the air cleaner, like everything I do has to be modified. I had to cut off the 5/8 flange to get it flat. None of this you'll see because I have a plate that fits all the way around and has the cutouts for the throttle bodies. The plate is to basically cover these two openings, and then this will sit right on the throttle bodies. So this piece is going to sit like this. The plate that fills these holes will be mounting to these 4 bolts. And then over here I'm just going to kind of, bevel back. It's not really a restriction, but and then that'll also mount my air sensor. And then I'll have 2 NPT fittings coming up for my breathers. So that's how that's basically going to sit. I've got this wire going to the servo. It's a shielded wire. I'm hoping it keeps down the RF interference, so my servo's steady. This will go over to the fuel pump. I got to mount the gas tank over here. I have to figure out this clutch cable. It's going to have to loop around and go through, probably go through this rubber grommet so that I have movement. That's about it, where I want it to go through in the car. And then I got to work on the clutch pedal. We'll get that going. For the clutch pedal, I was thinking I'm just going to use the bike's grip to start with anyway. I'm going to make a mount. This will sit like under the car, maybe pointing forward. So I'll make a mount through the bar that just bolts to the inner fender well of the car. And I'll just take this part of the lever off and I'll just bolt to this part. Have a pedal sticking down. And then just needs a little bit of travel like that to activate the clutch. So we'll be taking this lever off and just using this part, and we'll put a pedal arm coming down. Okay, I've got the accelerator pedal that I modified a few months back. This is the OEM Hall effect, which plugs right back in. The electric smart will work normal. I put this stop bolt to stop the accelerator from going to the detent, because the high-speed detent with the Steinbauer module actually slows the car down. So that's as far as it'll go. Then on this side I have my potentiometer that will be tied in parallel with the one on the steering wheel so that I can balance this by the knob on the dash steering to kind of match wherever speeds I'm going. I might have to adjust. This has a slight adjustment, plus I can pop it out, rotate it, stick it in until I get this dialed in. And I got a nice little 3D printed cover, goes over that. And then here I'm working on the clutch pedal. Kind of awkward, but this will go under the dash like that. This bar is going to go through the carpet with 2 bolts going into the side fender under the dash. So it'll hold this pipe level. I have this set up here for these pedal covers, and they can fit in 1, 2, or 3 locations depending on how I want that. I also have this here which can adjust the pedal height depending on when it's pressed, if it hits the carpet or where the comfortable feel is. I can adjust that bolt and then tighten all this up. So there's my clutch pedal. The next thing we're going to do is put some bolts through here into the car, and that'll be complete. So for my clutch pedal mount, I tack welded just 2 M8 bolts, and then up in the fender I drilled those 2 holes from this side. So in the car, under the carpet on this fender, they just go in here. Too much light. Like that. And I just got to cut a hole in the carpet, let that stick through. Well, there we are. We got the shift and 3 pedals. So an electric smart car with 3 pedals and 2 shifters. So we get this one connected. And then I have this wire. One says pedal, the other one's for the shifter, because they're the same kind. I'm going to run these across the dash, and then I got to hook up my steering wheel. So I have this throttle trim. And that'll also work with the pedal down below. So the clutch pedal is kind of short throw, but just like a bike, that's all it takes. I got this here where I can adjust the height of the pedal wherever I want to put it, and then once I get the feel, I'll tighten this wherever I want it and tighten that jam nut. On the top here we have the knob that always will go from 0 to full throttle regardless. This knob on the steering wheel says throttle trim. If it's all the way down, you know, it's all the way down that way, then the pedal down there will basically do nothing. And then if this is turned all the way up, then the pedal down there will probably go half throttle on the bike, which is plenty fast, you know, for the bike motor. But we always have full throttle over here. So I'll have to do some balancing to get it in, but on to the next project.